What are some things that you should never say to your ex? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video, but first, my name is Clay with ModernLove.life, where we help you get the great loving relationship that you're looking for without having to play mind games, without having to play hard to get, and without having to pretend to be someone or something that you are not, because you deserve to be loved by the unique, amazing, and wonderful person that you are. And if you agree with me, do me a favor by giving this video a thumbs up and by subscribing to this channel down below. It is conveniently located right there next to the thumbs up button. Can't miss it. Okay, so I also want to let you know that in this video, we're going to be talking about what you should not say to your ex. If you want to know what you should say to your ex, we do have a little course called Connect and Commit. It goes over 7 specific situations that could potentially go really bad between you and your ex, and it helps to turn them into opportunities for greater connection and commitment. You can find out more about that down below in the link in the description box, but like if those 7 situations don't fit what you're going through, it's probably not going to help you out. But if they do match what you're going through, it probably could help you out a lot. So anyway, go ahead and check that out down below if you're at all interested. So that being said, let's get into this video. Here are some things that you should never say to your ex. The first one is, are you open to trying again? Are you open to getting back together? Now, don't get me wrong, there is a time and place for actually suggesting getting back together, but most people are probably going to be suggesting it way too soon. They're going to be suggesting it, maybe right after the breakup, or maybe coming from a place of panic, what we call damage control mode. They think that their ex is like, distancing themselves from them, so they feel this urge to kind of like grasp onto their ex before they move away. And so they say, hey, do you want to get back together? Do you think we should try again? And they'll say, no, I don't want to do that. But usually you want to only say this when there's a very strong connection between you and your ex. There's no emotional obstacles. There's no practical obstacles like a rebound relationship or anything like that. And there's a pretty solid and consistent record for the two of you connecting pretty well. That's really the only time I'd recommend you bring this up. Most people should not be bringing this up at the point that they're at because they haven't really built that emotional foundation first. You want to build that emotional foundation first before you even suggest the possibility of getting back together, because you want to show your ex that you're more focused on connecting with them and understanding them where they're at than in just sort of like getting to the end goal of being in a relationship and ticking the box and kind of like moving on. We want to actually show them that you're connecting to them as an individual first and empathizing and understanding their concerns, their challenges, their frustrations, all of that stuff. The second thing that you should never say to your ex is, I'll never give up on us. And again, what that is going to do is it's going to show them that you're not listening to them. You're not understanding where they're at. Instead, you're basically saying like, hey, I'm not listening. I'm not understanding what you're experiencing, what your frustrations are, what your challenges are, what your complaints are. Instead, I'm just focused on the end goal of us getting back together because that's going to make me feel better. And you're just kind of a means to an end for me to feel better. That doesn't feel good for most people. And so what you want to do is instead you want to connect with them where they're at and then slowly guide them by building up that emotional foundation to the point where they can actually start to see a future together with you. Okay, that's not going to happen if you're just focused on that outcome and you're overlooking where they're at, what their experience is, what their concerns are, what their frustrations, what their hesitations, what their anxieties, doubts, all that stuff. You have to see that first. You have to acknowledge that first, and you have to build up that emotional foundation first before you start to move towards that commitment, that connection, that outcome of being back together again. Remember, the emotional connection that you have with your ex right now in the present moment will organically give rise to a commitment of getting back together. Whereas if you just focus on the commitment of getting back together, you may not necessarily end up building that emotional connection in the first place, and it's going to be a whole lot harder to move forward. I mean, like even if you were to somehow get back together with them without that emotional connection in place, you're just going to end up in some sort of dead relationship where you're just kind of, getting by and putting up with each other and all of that. That's not what most people want. Most people want to get back together because they think it's going to give them connection, intimacy, bonding, all that sort of stuff. And so what I'm saying is build that first and let the commitment, the relationship grow out of that, rather than going for the relationship and hoping that the commitment and all of that stuff is naturally there. By the way, if you do want to learn more about building an emotional connection with your ex, we do have an entire video series on what we call advanced relational skills. These help you to focus in on that emotional connection and build up that foundation, kind of like what we've been talking about so far in this video. If you're new to me or this channel and you want to learn more about these advanced relational skills, or maybe you just want to brush up on them because it's been a while since you've seen this playlist, there is a video playlist up there on advanced relational skills. Feel free to go ahead and check it out. A lot of people have found it really helpful. Maybe you will too. The next thing that you should never say to your ex is, "Do you still love me?" Now, again, as with "Are you open to trying again?" there is a time and place for this, but most people play this card like way too early. It's usually something that comes out of a place of damage control mode, of feeling like, your ex is slipping through your fingers, and so you say something like this to try to reel them back in, but because it's not where they're at emotionally, it just causes a greater wedge to form between the two of you. And so what you want to do is not ask them this right now. There is a time and place for this, and that's when the two of you are in a very deep level of rapport, very connected, and basically the two of you are like almost back together again, or like actually back together again. That's when you can start to have conversations like this. Or like obviously if your ex starts to steer the conversation in that way and they ask you if you still love them or something like that, yeah, you can have that conversation, but I wouldn't recommend introducing this out of the blue. It also kind of shifts the power dynamic between the two of you, such that like they're up here on this pedestal and you're down here kind of like looking for their approval. And I know that there's a lot of people with twisted views on relationships, let's put it that way, that think that it's some sort of like power struggle between, you and your ex, or men and women, or, all that stuff. Whoever cares the least controls the relationship, mind games, all that sort of stuff. And I'm not bringing it up for that purpose. What I'm saying here is simply that most people want to be in a relationship with someone who has more or less the same standing with them as they have with themselves. And so sure, there are certain people that get off on having like power differences one way or the other, but most people want to be in a relationship with someone that they see as more or less an equal. And if you start to put your ex up on a pedestal and you put yourself down here, they really have no choice but to look down on you, and that kind of creates a really awkward dynamic that most people don't enjoy. So don't go into that sort of validation seeking mode. It's probably not something that's going to build that emotional foundation and connection that's going to bring the two of you closer together, okay? The next thing that you never want to say to your ex is, "We're either getting back together or we're nothing at all." This is basically some sort of like ultimatum. Your ex maybe says something like, "Hey, I really care for you. I think we should just be friends for now," or something like that. Basically they're suggesting that the two of you stay in each other's lives in some way, but not in a relationship. And a lot of times people will, recommend that you say, basically just give an ultimatum and say, "Hey, we're either getting back together or we're nothing at all." And I can understand the rationale for that if you were in like a dating sort of situation where the two of you were never like in a relationship to begin with, and this is maybe somebody that you met and went out on like 1 or 2 dates with, and they were trying to put you in the friend zone. But if the two of you were actually in a relationship with one another, chances are your ex is never going to really put you in the friend zone. We've made videos on this before. I'm not going to go into this right now, but chances are very slim that you will actually be a platonic friend for your ex. Your ex is probably just confused and they don't know how the two of you fit into each other's lives yet. And forcing them with an ultimatum of either we're getting back together or nothing at all is probably going to be too much pressure for them to decide right now. And so they're probably going to decide to stay where the two of you are, which is broken up, which is nothing at all. Okay. And so you can play that ultimatum, but it's very, very, very rarely going to play out the way that maybe you are hoping. And so what I recommend that you do is actually live in that gray area of being, just friends, because you're not really in the friend zone. And just sort of living in that gray area and building up that emotional connection. And then when you have more of that emotional foundation in place, you can leverage that to get into what we call the fork in the road strategy, which people sometimes confuse with an ultimatum. It's very different from an ultimatum, but we'll get there later. Yeah, I would recommend doing something like that instead of trying to play that sort of ultimatum to kind of polarize your ex one way or the other, especially when there's not a strong emotional foundation in place that you can leverage to kind of get them to choose the side of things that you want to be on. The fifth thing that you should never say to your ex is, let's never talk again, or something kind of definite like that, or something that kind of paints you into a corner that maybe you might not want to be painted into. Now, again, don't get me wrong. If you never want to talk to your ex again and that's actually what you want, hey, okay, go ahead and say that. But if you actually do want to be in connection with your ex, if you actually do want to talk to them, if you actually do want to have the ability to initiate contact with them or something like that, don't paint yourself into a corner, because I've seen clients do this before and it's really, really strange and awkward, and it comes off kind of like out of integrity when they end up reaching out again, because they're like, hey, you know, I thought if I said this, it would make them initiate contact with me, but instead they're just not initiating contact with me and I'm missing them. What do I do? And so at that point, they've kind of painted themselves into a corner. And so if they're going to reach out, it kind of goes against the word that they gave, and it kind of breaks their integrity, and it sets them up for like some strange things ahead. So don't paint yourself into a corner. All right. So I hope this video has helped you out. Once again, my name is Clay with modernlove.life. If you want to learn more about that Connect and Commit course, which will tell you what to say in specific situations, again, only 7 specific situations, you can find out more about that in the link down below in the description. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you actually liked the video. Give it a thumbs down if you didn't like the video. Any sort of interaction helps to tell YouTube that this is a video that they should show to more people that would find it useful. So help me out. Also, feel free to subscribe. And if you want to learn more about those advanced relational skills, you can find them over in this video playlist right here, or you might want to check out this video right here. But thank you so much. Please take care, and I'll talk to you in the next video.